Basically, Dew I think is inspired by my own travels. So like every time when we go to different countries, basically we plan out a particular itinerary. And then from these areas, we actually translate them into the dishes for Dew. I think that part would be quite interesting is because the fact that we are not actually cooking the food from that particular country, but actually it's more like driven by what we've actually experienced. And then so we pretty much like take these ideas and then put them into dishes, and that's where the dishes for Dew actually come from. So they're actually very driven and inspired by our own actual very own experience. I think the dishes at Dew are affected by a number of factors. For example, because our kitchen is so small, so we actually have a lot of physical limitations. So the dishes, they have to be interesting, but also at the same time, they have to be able to be produced by our own staff in that tiny kitchen. To be more in depth about where the Dew's dishes come from. So like I said, it's travel inspired. So we would probably have some sort of shrimps, but the shrimps, if we could, would be locally sourced. And then we would probably pair that with whatever that's also locally sourced based on Taiwanese ingredients. And then make the dishes as interesting as possible. But it's also not just the fact that you're sitting down to eat the dishes. You're probably a lot more just pretty much like what we have experienced while we were traveling.
Stop, please.
You know, making sure the staff members are able to replicate them, I think that's the most difficult part. Again, it all depends on the experience of each individual, especially the fact that all these dishes have to be prepared by different personnel. So the challenge is that I have to make sure each staff knows really well, cannot be too complicated, so that the staff won't be able to replicate them. I think there are stories behind each dish. So when the customer gets their dish, a chef comes up and then tries to explain what the inspiration behind the dish or what the dish is about and how it's actually made. The interesting part is because we actually give the whole story really into our travels and trying to make the customer feel as close as possible to what we have felt when we're traveling between cities to cities. We actually live in Munich to Frankfurt. During this trip, while we're visiting these cities, we're pretty much on the go. So it's not really possible to make something very complicated. Just imagine yourself, you have to get on the trains. So the idea is that we are trying to create something that can be eaten on the go. So they're like small snacks. The Frankfurt dishes, we actually use a lot of techniques of what you will know, like molecular gastronomy, ingredients techniques, just to make the dishes much more interesting. For the menu, you would be using a lot of your hands to get an actual feel on the food. It actually gives you a lot of different experience when you're actually touching the food itself. I think right now there's a very big issue regarding the climate change and also the greenhouse. It's actually easier for us to plant something on the roof and then use them directly because it saves time, energy, and then a lot of costs as well. We're also ensuring that the ingredients we get are pretty much fresh. So there's a lot of advantage of planting your own ingredients or fresh produce of fruits or edible flowers, and actually give us a lot of advantage over other restaurants. So for next season's menu, I'll be taking everybody to Calgary, which is located in Alberta. It'll be much more personal, and it'll be for you guys pretty much so like a diary, and we'll be revisiting the dishes I've made for my long-time friends when I went to visit them. And now it's your turn. I'll be cooking for you guys.